Well, a very good morning to you watching. Today is Monday, the 6th of May, 2024. And of course, it's 7 minutes, I believe 3 minutes past 7 a.m. My name is Masi Katima and welcome to the Smart Men's Business, our morning show here on Smart 24 TV. We're located at 9 Avenue, Plot 42. You can come and talk to us and we can share much more information with you out there. And yes, well, today we're going to be talking about something interesting. Hope you had a lovely weekend. It was fully packed with events which we're going to be sharing here later on in the papers. But just to let you know, you can always catch us on YouTube. Just go type Smart 24 TV, type it, and you can catch us. We'll live stream this morning show, and of course, other programs. Notifications will be coming your way. Don't forget to subscribe if you're a newcomer, and we're on Facebook on Smart 24 TV Official and X on Smart 24 TV now. Yeah, we are always updating you on what is happening all over the country. And trust me, anything related to business, we have you here. Now, today we're going to be looking at the impact of inflation on your wallet. Did you know that inflation has, an impact on your wallet? Because yeah, that is where it starts. Things have the value of things increases, and the next thing you know, you're tapping deeper into your pockets. Something that went for 4,000 is now at 5,000. An additional 1,000 is very, very impactful, actually, for those that did not know. So we're going to be looking at understanding the impact of the rising inflation on your wallet. Yeah, if there is inflation, just know at the end of the day, you have to dig deep into the pockets. Now, of course, we saw the different taxations that were imposed. Yeah, that is also going to cause some inflation a little bit. Yeah, due to when fuel also was also had an additional 100 shillings. That means at the end of the day, why no quick people into the transport sector will have to say, they increase, so we're also going to increase. So, and one way or the other, inflation well, we look at the purchasing power, decreasing purchasing power also, that is also linked to inflation. Yeah, when it comes to your wallets, decreasing purchasing power, the value of our money actually depreciates, shrinking actually, to be precise, shrinking of the value of the money. So that means as inflation rises, the value of each the shilling you hold decreases. Did you know? Yes, that is also to be noted. As inflation rises, the value of the money that you're holding decreases. Yeah, because like I told you, what went for 1,000 is going to be now at 1,500. So the 1,000 really is going to be a little less. Yeah. That means you can buy less with the same amount of money. Yeah, with the same amount of money. And of course, including food, transportation, we have utilities, they become more expensive, squeezing your budget. Yeah. A lot of you have felt inflation one way. We've all felt inflation, and it's inflation. The things are up there. We're into, and of course, we also see the fact that when there is inflation, there is reduced saving. Yeah, you do understand that, because the money you could have saved, you're adding on to. If you've been saving 500 every day for maybe out of your transport, you find yourself spending the 500 shillings that you've been saving. Talking about maybe transportation fares increasing due to maybe to the fuel prices increasing. Yeah, so you find yourself really tapping into your savings. What would have saved you is now gone. Yeah, and of course you realize even the money that you saved, you cannot even be able to afford some things in the nearby future. Imagine, interesting that is now. So that has continuously discouraged saving and has made it harder for people to achieve their goals. Actually, that is one of the reasons as to why people have failed to save, because you go to purchase something and it's, you know, quite expensive, and what you had budgeted for, you tap into the budget. Yeah, leave alone impulse buying, when people go and spend their money because they feel they have to. But this is, we're talking about when there is increase in inflation, when prices of commodities are high. That means, like I said, the value of our money decreases. 500 shillings these days, what does it buy? 2 PKs, 2 chewing gums, or you can't even buy, because even if you were to buy a whole set of matchboxes, it's at, was it 1,000? Yes. So you can imagine. So 500 shillings then, and looking at now, it's a whole different sphere of life now. It's a whole different sphere of life. Yeah. So that means our money has gone on depreciating over and over again. And trust you what, if the food prices are on the, we have different types of actual inflation. We have food, we have food inflation actually, which almost affects mostly us Ugandans. And of course, whereas there is food inflation, there is a lot of malnutrition. People do not feed as they should be expecting. Mostly those that in the low-income households, you know. Now people won't be able to purchase onions, you know. Now you're buying tomatoes. There's a time last year when an onion, just one onion was at 500 shillings. Can you imagine? It was devastating. People were, I don't know, using alternatives, using powdered onions, something like that. So it was quite challenging. So imagine for the people that are into the low-income households, how do you think they survive? At the end of the day, there's going to be malnutrition. Then there is food insecurity. People are stealing from each other. There's a lot of chaos, you know, that happens in there. So you have to also understand that once they say ABC, that is why people have papers every day. You want to know what is happening all over the world. If the fuel prices have increased globally, just know we're going to be affected as a nation. You have to be on the standby and ready to tap deeper. Well, there was the war of, it's still ongoing, the war between Russia and Ukraine, where most countries used to import their wheat, you know, ingano, to make chapatis, to make dough, and, you know, make baked cakes, you know. So that, if you are not in the know, you would find, because now then, during that war, wheat was expensive, quite expensive, yeah. So if a person was not in the know of what is happening globally, they would be like, what is happening? So those are one also of the effects that the global challenges, they suppress us, they suppress the nation, other countries, the big economies, and at the end of the day, we are suppressed as a country that imports actually most of those products. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, there's also debt burden that cannot rule that out. Debt burden, yeah. We're looking at the outstanding loans that we have as a country, Uganda. Yeah, inflation actually does increase the debt burden. Yeah. So you can imagine. I would give an example. The prices are high. So that means you cannot afford. That means you have to go back. You have to borrow. Yeah, you have to borrow. And when you borrow, you will not have enough again to pay back. So you see what inflation does. That is what it does. But with the monetary policy, the Bank of Uganda has really done much to look at raising the interest rates to curb inflation. Yeah. Yes, you know, beginning of year, we're giving you the monetary policy from the Bank of Uganda. So So when they actually increase the interest rates, that means borrowing is going to be quite expensive. The interest rates for those that borrow is going to be expensive, and they'll find means of, maneuvering around the inflation that happens into the country. So my friend, just know, if at all you see things, what went for 1,000 is at 1,500, just know you have to at one point dig deeper into your pockets. Okay, be alert, be aware of what is happening in your surrounding. That is what kills us as people. But I like the fact that people in business beg your pardon, have taken initiative to be really informed. They are watching news at 7, they are watching news at 9, and they are well equipped and informed. So if you're a business person, you're not informed with what is happening globally, it's a pity. It's a pity. One way or the other, you'll have to understand why the imports are now more expensive, and you have to explain to your customers to why. Something A, B, C, and D is happening this way. Yeah. Well, of course, it's 15 minutes past 7 a.m. This is the time where we get to see what is happening into the press. Let's get right into it. It's as if I have triplets right on me here, and I have a New Vision, East African, a Daily Monitor, and of course, as in the East African, bracing us to be ready for hunger, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, due to the terrestrial rains that have killed about 500 people in East Africa and destroyed infrastructure that will take billions to repair, experts further predict further food shortages blamed on destruction of farmland in the bread baskets. Well, it has been raining thunder, destroying property in Kenya and Tanzania. It's been a mess, actually. You see houses all full to the brim, covered. Yes. So you can imagine livestock, everything destroyed. The loss of that recovery is going to be immensely. So they are warning us to brace for hunger for those that have been affected with heavy rains, the floods that have really swept away people's properties. When we're talking about studying about science, we forgot that this is also the movement of crops, livestock, one place to another. Yeah. Now, of course, looking here, government staff have 12 months to resign for 2026 polls. Yes, as you know, once you're a government civil servant, you're on a payroll, government, you have to resign. If you've been a teacher, you have to resign. If you've been in the army, you have to resign. If you have been in any government institution, you have to resign so that you can focus. You can't have it all. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You cannot. Yeah, you can't have it all. Someone had an argument a bit, onto that. That thing of you can't have a cake and eat it alone. You can't, honestly. And of course, the government employees eyeing elective seats in the 2026 polls. We're just left with only 1 year, and the set pace have barely a year to leave their jobs if they are to comply with the legal requirements to resign. For instance, 90 days before the parliamentary nominations of the Electoral Commission has set for September next year. So by now, you should have resigned, And of course, ministry to probe school over prom, says official. Well, this thing has to be looked into, because now education itself is expensive. And looking at the overwhelming budget that these schools are, well, I understand the parents do contribute, but squandering money into proms, and they're quite expensive. People come in choppers, helicopters. I mean, it's quite devastating. It's I think that is why we have a lot of mental health issues. Yeah, there's a lot of competition, even in the young children, even among the students. Competition to look good, to be good, to have this and that. We didn't have that in our years, and we are here, we are standing. Yeah, so this has to be looked into. You're trying to make your friends feel inferior. Not to be. And of course, only buses, trucks won't pay fee on the para route. Yeah, we're looking at the para route. The para stretch is popular with tourists, destined for game drives, birding, and in Uganda's largest park, and home to 76 mammals and 450 bird species. Uganda is known for having one of the rarest birds, if not in the whole world, actually. Yes, so this road, well, the Uganda Revenue Authority, UNRA, said only vehicles with a carrying capacity of 28 passengers or under will be allowed to cross over the starting today. And of course, you have to understand that if they have really improvised that this stretch is going to be for tourists, people are driving in, people are cycling, those bougie things, so they have to be exempted. Well, Uganda on alert as floods hit East Africa, like we had read here. Brace for hunger, take your food, put in storage, store, because at the end of it all, once everything is swept away, you'll have to go back and look into the damages, and most families are not even insured. Yeah, for cases like this. Yeah. Well, of course, government cabinet directs on civil servant contracts with deterioration in the service delivery across different departments. The government is undertaking a study to review permanent and pensionable employment. But of course, experts predict more rain and Tebe residents vacate Lake Victoria shorelines. Yeah, it's flooding. It's flooding. The water masses are increasing. Yeah. Oh. So Chinese held over illegal sale of army uniforms. Oh, yes. And of course, over the weekend, the president was visiting Chalazinga right there. And of course, Museveni rallies Ugandans on census. Everyone has to participate, answering the 180 questions. Will you be ready to answer? Well, is it an exaggeration? We could say 180. I mean, there could be a couple of questions. But are you ready? Do you have your information right? Do you have your information right? Yeah, so get ready to be counted, right? Wherever it happens, go allow yourself to be counted. Yes, and of course, looking at food-prone districts, food-prone districts right here, looking at Lake Albert also as well, mostly those that near the lakes, and Tebe residents vacate land, lake shore line as water increases. Yeah, it's actually happening. It's actually, and of course, Museveni, First Lady, hosts African parliamentarians. Yes, looking at the president called for for unity and self-reflection if Africa is to defeat imperialists. Well, of course, there's been his talk since we have to be independent. We don't have to rely on what they call imperialists. Yeah. And of course, experts want nursing schools to have teaching hospitals. And of course, security probes NGO boss over hate crime. Well, Ugandans and petty things, really. It's quite devastating. Small petty things. And of course, looking at Karuma Dam Bridge, what went wrong? Okay, I'm seeing a crack. Jesus Christ, what is happening? Yeah, and of course, a 6-month state-sponsored assessment has concluded that the integrity of Karuma Bridge over Lake Nile River Nile on the Kampala-Gulu road has been compromised to the point of being a potential national disaster. I'm seeing a crack, like the road cracked. Is it because of the water? Really? And of course, the Ministry of Works and Transport have established bridge failure at 3 points, necessitated the costly but inevitable ad hoc suspension of heavy traffic across the 60-year-old bridge. That is along Karuma, the Kampala-Gulu road. Yeah. And of course, ministry saves government 1.2 trillion in cases. Yeah, court cases to be precise. Yeah, that is judiciary, looking at judiciary. That also has to be looked at too. And of course, corruption is a byproduct of a flawed education system. Yeah. And of course, looking at last week on Friday, we looked at how KCCA is planning to close over 50 border stages in Kampala. Yeah, in Kampala. Yeah. In Kampala, they have become too much. Most of them are involved in theft, threatening our people. It's quite dangerous to board any border that you come across. That is why some people really opt for safe border, could say, because they feel safe, like it is. Well, of course, education official wants school probbed over prom, like elite high school. Was it elite? Yes, it was elite high school at Hebe. Hi, my goodness. Yeah, and UWA waives para-route levy for only buses and trucks. And of course, looking Karuma Dam, mocking headlines all over. Yes, and of course, costs, savings to travelers in Karuma Bridge closure. Yeah. It's going to affect them. Yes, like I'd said, government workers have only 1 year to resign for the 2026 elections, and of course 1.3 billion. The poll body will need 1.3 billion to conduct the 2026 general elections as part of the sum of the 2.4 trillion required to implement its 2023 and 2026-2027 strategic plan. Okay, all right. And of course, farmers demand action over drop in tea prices. Yeah, and of course, beginning of year we saw how the tea growers were actually complaining on why they're not really being considered, yet they actually export. They're one of the cash crops that does export and bring in quite some revenue. Well, the Uganda Tea Association, in collaboration with the East African Tea Trade Association, has called on the government to take urgent action to resolve the severe crisis threatening the livelihoods of thousands of farmers and workers in the country's tea subsector. Now, a kilo of tea has dropped from $1.5, which is approximately $5,600, to $2,400. Well, much as the tea growers are complaining, coffee farmers are actually really benefiting, because a kilo that costed $6,000 for the coffee farmers is now at $12,500. Good for them. Now, this is also being affected one way or the other. And of course, over 1,000 adolescents assessed in life skill competences. Are they ready for the world? If you were a Form 4 leaver, you're still an adolescent, would you consider yourself worthy to go out in the world? What do you know, apparently? What do you know so? An assessment has been made, and of course a case study in Kasese district, and of course more than 1,000 adolescents in selected districts across the country have been assessed on life skill competences as education system moves away from the theory-based curriculum. Quite interesting, impressive. It's quite devastating for a child to finish school and they can barely even do something with their hands. Yeah. Climate change is a worse health threat than we think. Yes. Have you seen the floods? Have you seen the water? The water is so, it's dirty, and I don't know. I had bilharzia is also one of the diseases that waterborne diseases. So it's quite unhealthy. It's quite unhealthy living, because I saw a video of it rain and people were dumping in garbage in the flowing water. I don't know, people in the city release their, I don't know, it's not healthy actually. It comes with a cost, yes. That and more when you grab yourself a copy of these papers. Of course, the interesting facts. Well, of course, yes, that brings us to the end of what is happening in Uganda and East Africa. So, East Africa, Uganda, brace yourself for hunger. If you are in one of the places that have been hit by the heavy rains recently, find means of making sure that you save up. Have your storage systems ready, because we are going to be in dire need of help. Well, I'm going for a short commercial break. I'll be back with what is happening in East Africa and across the borders. Just stick around.